Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders insider, part of the Fans First Sports Network. Man, we are excited to talk about a young man that I believe is going to make the Raiders roster, the 53-man roster. And he's a young man that comes with a lot of versatility. McClendon Curtis out of UT Chattanooga is the young man I'm speaking about. Now, listen, this is how the kid operates. He is 6'6", 324 pounds, and I think he may even be a little bigger than that. And the guy whose tutelage that he really prospered under is Coach Kevin Rivas. He's the assistant head coach at UTC. He's also the offensive line coach. He joins us now. Coach, thanks for taking some time to talk to folks around the nation about this young man.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm telling you, any chance I get to talk about McClendon, we try to hop at that because great guy, man.
Well, before we get into him, UTC has a really good reputation. I know you played there. I think even your brother played there. But now you're the assistant head coach, offensive line coach. You guys have done a lot there in that program. I mean, it's really a shining star. But I got to ask, because everyone asks me, what's a mock?
So the Mockingbird is the state bird of Tennessee. So yeah, it's not a very menacing mascot, but that's what it is, a Mockingbird.
All right, that's awesome. So, Coach, the Raiders go out and they pick up an interior offensive lineman from you. You tutored him his entire career. You're his guy, you're his coach, you developed him. Would you walk us through his process from what you got when he first arrived to where he is now?
And that's one thing. So I actually just got back to Chattanooga last year. So I had him for 1 year. And the biggest thing I would say about McClendon is he's still such an unfinished product. Just because, I mean, he had 4 offensive line coaches in his career at Chattanooga. So for him, I mean, that level of development kind of gets hindered a little bit. I know out of high school that I was familiar with him. He was a very raw prospect. He was a big old kid, and you can tell he was athletic, but he was missing a lot of things. You could see some of the tools, but it was just very unrefined. But from the time I got him last March, he bought right in, and he understood that he still has a lot of room to improve. And one of the biggest things that we focused on is we wanted to, we had a need at tackle. We were very young up front last year. We had a need at tackle, and he's a prototypical guard, but he was our best guy. So we worked him at tackle some last spring, and to be honest, he was not very good at it. He really struggled with it. Just it's a different way to move your body, different angles, and he worked his butt off all summer on that and did some things in the off season. I mean, he worked with us in the off season. He went to Joe Thomas had a deal, and he worked with them a little bit, and he learned how to play tackle, and he was a really good. I mean, he was the offensive lineman of the year in the conference, playing mostly tackle. I even moved him in games from guard to tackle. So that's just the kind of guy he is. As far as seeing him develop that much in a year, was unbelievable. And it just told me a lot about him because, I mean, that kid's just going to continue to develop, but a very raw skill set. And the reason he's going to keep getting better is he does have that untapped potential, but because of who he is, I mean, he's not a guy that's going to be satisfied, especially with the Raiders' chance on him.
We're talking to UTC assistant head coach, offensive line coach Kevin Rivason. He is the man that for the last year really molded McClendon Curtis, the Raiders' new interior offensive lineman at guard. And Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time with us. I want to ask you a few questions. I'm going to tell you some things I'm hearing from scouts and inside the Raiders of what they liked. I'd like to get your perspective since you obviously work so close. But first of all, is his want to. A lot of guys his size just like to overpower people, but they don't understand at this level of the NFL, you're not overpowering anybody. Technique's the name of the game. And I'm told he has a strong want to and is extremely teachable. Is that accurate in your opinion?
Extremely coachable. And that really showed to me I came in and coached him his last year, and he was already, he'd started for 3 years. he really coasted his last year. Um, I thought I was really going to have to come in and earn his respect, just being a new O-line coach and younger guy and everything. But from the moment I got there, he was taking in everything I was telling him and wanted to get better. So, I mean, that outside of what everybody told me about him, just like you guys are hearing now about him, people were telling you about him. I saw it firsthand the first day I coached him. Not to say he still has a lot of things to work on. It's when your athletic potential is that great, there's so many things that he can do to continue to get better, and things that he got away with early in his career just because he was big and powerful. And he really took that seriously and personally, and that's what's going to help him at the next level. Is he didn't just rely on that, especially later in his career.
Mm. Coach, another thing that I've heard about him that I found really interesting is that I'm told he has a super high football IQ. He's a student of the game. He'll watch the film, he'll put in the extra work to learn the things. Can you tell us about that side of him, please?
Yeah, he's up there. During the season, I suggest to them that they come up, and it's not really just a suggestion. They got to do it if they want to play. But Kurt is the guy that McClendon's making sure those young guys are up there too, and he's up there extra every day, making sure everybody else gets up there. So there's a lot of accountability and ownership in that. I mean, he's up there for, you know, I tell him I want him up there for 15, 20 minutes a day, and I give him a sheet to fill out with different, just to kind of guide their film study. And he's a guy that's up there for, at least twice that amount of time, getting things ready to go and making sure everybody else does. So it's not even just him, and that's something he's worked really hard at.
Coach, now that the Raiders have him, I'm curious. A lot of people, there was a lot of interest in the NFL around him, as you could tell with I mean, I know it isn't a lot of money, but the Raiders did pay a lot for a UDFA to get the deal that they gave him financially. So when scouts said to you, "Hey, coach, what do you think of him?" What did you tell him?
I mean, I told him first off, I was like, you can see it. Like, I told him anything you find out from this point forward, because you've already watched the film, you see the things that he needs to work on. That part is very clear. I told him anything else you find out about the kid from anybody you talk to around town is going to be nothing but great things. You're going to like him more and more. And that's the part where I think now he's really going to shine, and his position coach is going to absolutely love him, because it's not just that he's a nice guy. He is also a really hard worker, but just the attitude he brings every single day, the positive energy that he brings to the table every day, like those things are going to be absolutely unbelievable. I mean, he's just a great dude. Um, I told the scouts first off that I have a 1-year-old son, and I hope my son's half the man he is. And then I told him I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and she ain't anytime soon, but when she does, at that point in her life, I hope it's somebody like him. So I mean, as a father, I didn't know a bigger compliment I could pay, and that's how I feel about the kid. That's how we all feel about him. You won't find a person in Chattanooga that'll say a bad word about him.
That's pretty awesome. Coach, last thing, there are huge expectations. The Raider fan base is very knowledgeable. They know the game of football. They're one of the most knowledgeable fan bases in all the NFL. So they have huge expectations. That next step, though, to the next level, a lot of people maybe don't understand is how big. But with him, there's so much upside athletically. I'm not sure he's going to be a starter to start the season, but I think he's going to be a starter in the NFL for a long time. Do you read that the same way?
Absolutely. Um, where he starts out, obviously he'll adjust to the level of competition, and that's kind of how I feel about it as well. I mean, would I be surprised if he started? No. I would be much more surprised if he doesn't start at some point in his NFL career pretty soon. Um, you know, I know the transition will take him a little bit of time, but like I said, I mean, if he's out there game one starting at guard, I will not be the least bit surprised. Now, again, will it take him some time? Yes, but like I said, I'd be more surprised if he doesn't make it and is not an extremely productive pro player.
Coach, last question, but again, I appreciate you taking the time. Coach Rivas from University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. He's the assistant head coach and the offensive line coach for McClendon Curtis, Raiders' new guard. Coach, when I've heard a lot about his athleticism, and I'm curious, taking away film, game film, have you seen it? And what are some examples of that athleticism where you looked at, wow, that's a big man. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I would say the most shocking thing about him is, typically guys that are that big, that long and that big have some kind of deficiency as far as, whether it's bend, whether it's something in the weight room, whether it's some kind of short range motion, anything. And he has no deficiencies. I mean, the only thing he's had to work on is his feet had to get faster, and he's still getting better at that. But as far as hip flexibility, ankle flexibility, range, how he moves, his weight room numbers, there's no deficiency. He's not missing anything. And I would say outside of just the way he moves is his durability being that size. I mean, I don't know how many. I haven't played or coached many guys that are close to his size that don't have some kind of injury issues. The kid doesn't miss. Hadn't missed a practice or a workout since I've been here. I mean, he just doesn't. So, athletically, it is impressive how he moves at his size, and that's something that he's continued to get better at. But the biggest thing I would say is there's just no deficiency physically for him being, 6'6", 330, wearing a size, looks like a size 32 shoe. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like a 17 or something. I know they made him the size that he wears them, but
Coach, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're super busy, and I loved your response. Any chance I can talk about McClendon Curtis, I'm going to take it. So thank you for getting a hold of us on the road. It's greatly appreciated. We don't take it for granted. Thanks, and go Mocs.
absolutely. I appreciate it. Thanks for talking about our guy.
All right. God bless you, buddy. Thank you so much.
God bless
Man,
you.
there
Have a
you
good one.
go. Yeah, you too, sir. That's a great one right there.